Wake up, you're live.
No, I'm not live.
You're live. You're so live.
I love breathing.
Welcome to Numb Bills Fan Podcast, the live edition.
Yeah, brought to you by Bills4Life.com. We're here every Wednesday at some point. We always say 7, and we say, yeah, we're going to be on time this time, but
We never are.
I don't know about never, but occasionally 1 out of 52. 1 out of 52.
We try, though. We do. We put a lot of effort in, so...
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. We do a podcast usually a couple a week, and always expect to update your feeds. If you want to subscribe to us, it's very easy. Go into iTunes, Google Play, or into Stitcher, and if you really want to, what you could do is tell your friends, tell everybody, and it kind of updates automatically, really easy. So every week you should see a podcast from us. And if we don't have one week, usually we'll do 2 or 3 the next week to make up for it. So we try to keep them coming all the time, keep it real. And if you're listening to this through the audio edition, I mean, thank you. So as always, we're also brought to you by PunchdrunkSports.com and Punch Drunk Sports Podcast. They're cool dudes, 3 comedians doing comedy. And they got a podcast network coming up for comedians doing sports podcasts, and I guess we're the ones doing the Bills. So thank you to those guys.
I think I'm funny.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's about it, though, right?
Right. So, and again, don't forget Bills for Life. This is brought to you by Bills for Life, this Wednesday show. And lastly,
Oh, yeah.
if you want to help support the podcast, we got these sweet shirts. They're really comfortable. Just you can find them. Go on numbillsfan.com and shoot us a message.
Yeah, just go click on that picture that's on your screen on the front page of our website. It'll take you to our little Etsy store. You got secure checkout.
Yeah,
Credit, debit, PayPal, whatever you prefer. Help us out. Help us keep the lights on.
Yeah, really,
keep the
that's
content
it.
flowing.
Anything to do to help us support this thing to keep going, because we do put a lot of time into this. It might seem like the kind of, oh, they're just the joking guys. No, we actually have like a set list written down, and we take a lot of time for it. So really, any way you want to support, the shirts are comfy. My shirt right now is bleach print, and as you can tell, that thing is just flat. That's what I like.
It's a super cool design, too. Shout out to our man, Casey Diaz, for putting that together for us.
Yeah, really. That was awesome. And shout out to Casey Diaz for filling in on bass for us a couple weeks ago, too.
Oh, yeah. We did our little band reunion in memory of our friend Jake, who passed away back in November. And he killed it on the bass. That used to be my job. Our singer, he's in Oklahoma, couldn't make the trip. I grabbed the mic. He grabbed the bass. It worked out well.
Yeah. And Drunk Dean played drums like always. So shout out to Drunk Dean. But anyways, so we think they're red shirts. They're different. They don't say Billsy all over or anything dumb. Cool quote on the back. Last line of what Marv Levy told the players during the playoff thing, Super Bowl deal. So check that out. And we will rise again, because that's what we'll do as Bills fans. Anyways. A lot of things have been happening. What's everybody's thoughts on the drafts? On the draft, I thought we did really well. I really enjoyed the move back. I liked the guy that they grabbed, and Tre'Davious. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it at first, because I was really attached to Foster. And Foster just seemed like a very polarizing guy as far as character issues to the front office, apparently. So we got a guy who's a day one starter at the cornerback spot, but they keep bringing in corners. So it seems like the Bills are making the smart, safe plays all day today with this draft. Everybody's in this draft seems like a turnkey, can contribute pretty soon for what they're going to be asked to do. Zay Jones, we had a draft show at 34 Rush. Shout out to Roster Sports Network and the guys at the Huddle, Ryan. Those guys over there, we had a draft show at 34 Rush, and it was pretty cool because a lot of good opinion on there. Spencer from a radio station here.
105.5 The Team here in Rochester.
Yeah, and
Spencer German.
Yeah, he's a nice dude. He's got some awesome takes too. So there's some guys out there that really have some good takes, and we had pretty much like a round table Friday night of the draft and Saturday.
Drew from Rock Power Report was out there. We had a good time. Always a good time with Drew.
Yeah, Drew's off his rocker.
He was back on 113. That was a good podcast from the van.
Yeah, he's a maniac. But
so are we.
We were sitting at the table, and we're just looking over picks, and they asked me, of all people, what I think the Bills should do. And I said Zay Jones because I'm just looking up, his coach is from East Carolina, the receivers coach here, obviously. So, well, that's his college. Why wouldn't you have a guy that is available to you? You traded up to get him.
The hands, man.
Right.
The hands.
Virtually
no drops.
You know what we need. Can you bump me down a little bit? I'm spiking. It might be just this. All right.
Yeah, you're good.
So,
I didn't check it in headphones. It probably sounds awful, but I said you're good. So
glove fit of a guy. So many receptions in college, like the most. So, way I look at it is you got a receiver, you know what you're getting. Third round pick, and trade up to get this guy. They're two fits. Dawkins, very versatile. Who knows what's going to happen with this offensive line? They're going to be running a zone blocking scheme, and some people think that maybe this could be noticed for any of the guards, any of the interior linemen, minus center. He says he'll learn center. He can do it a little bit, but I think this is a right tackle spot. At the same time, the report is on him, at least some guys think that, people close to him, they think that he could.
His mom? Or like his.
He had pretty much his uncle/cousin on the John Murphy show.
Okay.
And he has the same mentor as Donald Jones. So they were talking with him, and he's like, no, I got the breakdown. And obviously the guy's in his corner. So pretty much what the guy can do is he's versatile, can go from allegedly both sides. But if you look at Cyrus Kwanjo, he looks a lot better at the left tackle spot.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
So we've talked about this a lot if you listen to us all the time. Don't assume that you could just go what we would call in BMX or skateboarding fakie. Don't assume that you could just go on your opposite side. It's not going to happen.
And as far as the ambidextry of the position, I'm going to use that term, the left, the right, whatever. You got to assume that it's never actually just interchangeable. One side's always going to be stronger than the other. So it's just the way I feel about it.
No, for sure. And I think that with Dawkins, you have another high character guy. This whole draft is high character guys. I can't blame them. We talked about before this draft. We talked about the Bills drafting needs. I'm not I said this guy, but I guess we do a radio show, so if you want to have some kind of takes and ding your points to them, you got to take a hard line stand somewhere, right? I will say this. I said this was a need draft, and not for nothing, this was a need draft. That's what they got. They got two linebackers in the draft, and they got a quarterback in the 5th round. And I like where they got Nathan Peterman. I highly recommend you go to cover1.net. I always say that. Subscribe to them on iTunes. They had Nate Geary and Eric Turner did a great video piece to go along with this. It was audio with video, and to really break down Nathan Peterman. And after listening to it, I was like, wow, this would be a really interesting person to draft for the Bills, because he would be essentially a guy who can come in and be a backup sooner rather than later, and might have, I don't know if he has more quote-unquote upside, because a lot of people think the problem with him is he's already at his ceiling.
I'm gonna say that absolutely he has upside, though, because he's coming into the league with two of the qualities that, to me, who I'm not a scout. I'm not breaking down the film, and we tell you that all the time, that's not our role here. But he's coming in with accurate throwing ability and good footwork. And those are the two things that are constantly breaking, guys that we think may be able to play the position at the high level, You get so many guys in here who just like can't get their feet together or can't get the ball into the passing lanes accurately, and it's just like you guys got a good thing with this Peterman kid because he comes in there looking good on both fronts. You know what I mean, Dave?
I think that with Peterman, if you look at what the Broncos could do with Rick Dennison and Simeon there, the Trevor kid at quarterback, he was decently productive. He got the job done. And now you got a guy in Tyrod Taylor who's got a lot more of a dynamic of a game. At the same time, a lot of people doubt Tyrod Taylor's ability to run a West Coast style offense, but what I kind of liked about what Greg Roman would do is he seemed to, they always touted the word multiple. They had multiple looks, yada, yada, yada. So they did have some zone run scheme, and they did have some power run scheme stuff going on. So with Tyrod Taylor, I kind of look at it like a situation where what can he do? What is he limited to? Well, if you're wondering if he can run a West Coast offense, meaning like can he be on time with the ball? Can he throw with anticipation? I think about the last game that the Bills played against the Jets a couple of seasons ago, where Sammy Watkins was moved all over the field, week 17. And he did a nice job with a lot of different kind of route combinations than they usually do, which is a.k.a. bomb at the Sammy. And the Seattle game this past season, the ball's out of his hands quick. I just think Tyrod Taylor does what's asked of him. Now, this is his season. He needs to show that he can do that. Well, it seems like with Nathan Peterman, what you're getting here is you're getting a guy where he's going to be on time with the ball. That's what you want. He anticipates throw. He's taking snaps under center. A lot of guys think that some people think that he is the most pro-ready quarterback right now out of the box.
Right, and he's getting the Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton comparisons, and it's guys that have been able to, I don't want to say be real successful because like where's their rings, right? That's what it's ultimately about here, but those are guys that you can build a team around.
They say he has a weaker arm, but I want to read Tom Brady's scouting report. You know what I'm saying? And everybody around draft time, everybody has a chuckle at it. Everybody sees a picture of Tom Brady in the combine. And I'm not saying this is Tom Brady, but no, I can't be.
Don't even go there. You're not going to get my hopes up. I don't care what you do with yours, but you leave mine alone.
I think that coming out of the draft too with a couple linebackers, they're both 6 foot, 6'1", and they're within like 5 pounds of each other. Yeah. Matt Milano from Boston College and Tanner Vallejo out of Boise State. So I think what these guys are going to be looking to do is see what can happen, who can contribute. But I'm kind of shocked we haven't seen a linebacker really brought in via free agency yet. I have not followed too much of the undrafted guys yet, so I'm curious to see who they bring in. This is really interesting. Oh, by the way, I guess we can go there. If anybody has thoughts on the linebackers, please let us know. Actually, anything. But the general manager was fired and his entire staff. And, Eye for Talent, period. Nice article on cover1.net I wrote. I guess that just doesn't matter. It's really, can you work with people, period, I think is what it is. I don't think it's eye for talent.
Maybe you have a follow-up in the works, huh?
Can you work with people in groups? Because if you can't work as a team, because that's a common theme that Terry Pagula is talking about in his press conference. Hey, we want to work as a team. I believe in collaborative efforts. He's saying things like the process has, We went through a process and yada, yada, yada. Well, what the hell is the process? I don't know. Is the process showing up, being like, hey, Sean, let us know how it is working with Doug? Okay. Then it reports back. Okay, well, it's a common thing that's been going on. Now, I've always been a big supporter of Doug Whaley, but sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And
this is true.
Do we have to look at the other side of it a little bit? Maybe.
Probably.
I kind of look at it like if McDermott didn't get along with him, and then there was reports that Rex and him were kind of not seeing eye to eye, but that didn't make sense because anybody that he got seemed to kind of work. So I kind of had a hard time just letting this general manager just like bounce. But I have to look at it like, hey, he mortgaged the future with 2 first-round picks on Sammy Watkins. But I will make that argument that at that time, the roster was pretty stacked. Take a look at that roster and where we were. Mario Williams was playing awesome. I don't want to hear that, we should have
coming off that season, the Bills looked great.
Right.
On paper.
I don't want to hear that we should have got Khalil Mack. No, Mario Williams was actually playing just fine. The team was playing
right. No, the defense
fine.
Was fire, and we were like, oh, we can't score any points. So he went out, and he got the guy that he thought was going to come in and be the difference maker on offense.
Right.
But
shit happens.
I was going to say the ship that the defense was sailing along on kind of sank.
Yeah, I mean, it just happens. So it is what it is.
Rex rewired everything, and it kind of caught on fire.
So one thing that I think is very underrated is the year the Bills drafted E.J. Manuel. I don't know whose decision it was, but Ryan Fitzpatrick was asked to re-sign or to restructure his contract. They asked for money back. He's like, nah. And what I want to know is, Fred Jackson came out talking about Doug Whaley back too. And this isn't bash Doug Whaley fest because, again, I've always been a supporter. I thought he's done a good job, but made this reference on our podcast recently on a call for, Sunday. Nate Geary and Ryan Gates held it down with an awesome show on Sunday. So go through the Bills and football audio through their RSS feed for WGR. Great 5 hours of radio or 3 hours, however long. And I ended up calling in, played the call on our podcast. But essentially, my point is I do always say it. I do construction and I'm self-employed. But if I try to work with other people and tell them what to do, it doesn't always work out. I'm not the best people manager, but I'm good at my job. But I'm not good at managing people. And I think, unfortunately, what we do here is we set the standard where guys really think that because somebody's a good scout or they're a good at whatever, all because they're really good at putting up walls and driving nails into wood, does not mean that you're good at telling 5 other people to do that and encouraging them to do a job because this football community is very bullish. They're not really progressive at all as far as like how you want to talk to people. And I think that's why I liked having Rex Ryan is I kind of figured he could tap into these guys a little bit. The problem is with the CBA, you don't got enough work. You don't or enough time to work with these guys anymore. The coaches are very limited. And with college football, it seems like the quarterbacks, they're just putting the best athletes at that position in high school and they're rolling with it in college. And now they're getting dumber. Not even dumber. They're just asked to do a lot less. So if this is how it is and you got a GM and Doug Whaley who's apparently hard to work with because a lot of people have had a hard time working with him, I guess he's not there. It seems like his moves, and if you put him with Tim Murray, his moves are very bold. They're very bold people. And as a Buffalo sports fan, I was getting sick of like boring crap. Like I like that Whaley is not afraid to make a move. I like that stuff. I love seeing an aggressive nature, but
I mean his hits are hits, man. Like for sure, his hits, the guys he brings in that are quality do big things, man. Like, look at Lorenzo Alexander. He just got named to the top 100 list, right? Mm-hmm. A decade into his career is basically a special teamer and like a role guy. You know what I mean? So like, I like whatever it was that scouting staff was looking for.
I think the pro personnel side of that team was money. Right. The one thing that was confusing is on the point about managing people is you have to encourage. It seems like these days we have to be more encouraging if we want results. I grew up kind of on the liberal side of things, both of us within the punk hardcore community, just kind of like, more liberal views. And now it's like my quote unquote liberal views are more like conservative now to other people. And it's like, whoa, like it's not supposed to be like that. So I think what's happening here is we have like a culture shift and how you can get reaction out of these players. And the coaches can only do so much. So it's like, what I'm getting at here is like, if Doug Whaley's hard to work with in groups and has to relay a message to the coaches to get a job done, but then you got a guy like Rex's, you know who I am kind of guy, how much are you penetrating that? Then you got a guy like Doug Marone who couldn't work with people. I mean, it's oil and water, it seems like. So when you hear about Terry Pegula talking about, I want to work with people who want to collaborate and work as a team, that kind of maybe leaves a hint that it wasn't like that. So I think, because when I look at some of the GM candidates, they might not be the best scout. But that's not their job to scout necessarily. Their job is to manage the people who are doing the scouting, to make sure that the guys that you have as scouts, that maybe they get double checked on how good their experience is. Because there's some scouts that were in that department. I'm not going to bash on anybody. They just lost their job. Like, let's be real here. These guys lost their job. Everybody who wants people to get fired, they lost their job. I hate seeing people get fired. When everybody's like, oh, fire the coach. I think about the assistant coaches. I think about the guy who just got a break.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, now they're packing up their families. So this is Doug Whaley.
Now there's a huge ripple effect, you know?
Mm-hmm. Who can work with people? I don't know. There's some guys around the league who do a nice job, and at the same time, there's also guys that are, like, if you look at the list, it just seems inexperienced, and when it doesn't work, we're going to ding back and be like, well, of course it didn't work. You hired so-and-so. Huh. Like, what'd you expect? You know, and that's unfortunate because you want to see these guys succeed. That said, it seems like Sean McDermott is definitely in control. He's doing a lot. He is penetrating this organization and really making some core changes. It seems like they're doubling down on common sense. They are not putting all their stock into this cornerback. They're bringing in guys like constantly. So I'm shocked without a coach, without a scouting staff in place.
Right. Even like, a real talented young corner coming up isn't a guarantee. Like, it took Gilmore some time to like fill his shoes, But I respected the hell out of the kid while he was here playing with the club on his arm and all that. Like, back then I was like, damn, that's real. But
again, it's like we talked before.
But no, it takes time, man. It does. It takes time, and he's coming in. Again, Gilmore's gone now. We don't have like a for sure number one guy. Like, he's gonna go in there and compete with Darby. I think we need a little bit more than that. And this is one of those situations where like I feel like you can't be too prepared. That's we've talked about on the podcast, and I think last week on live here, just how important the cornerback position is to Sean McDermott's defense.
So one thing I want to get, are you cool if I transition off GM a little bit? If you want more GM talk, we just did a podcast.
I wanted to hit a comment here before we got too far off because we already talked about it. This is the one
because I was going to hit Sammy Watkins eventually, but we'll get to it.
Okay, well, what do you got?
I want to touch on Sammy for 5, and then touch back.
Okay, so, that's what I was getting at too.
So what do you got?
Michael Aldrich Jr. in the comments here said, "Is declining Sammy's option a good thing to do?"
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Here's why. Is, in a nutshell, I mean, do you want to take this or do you want me to roll?
I mean, I'm interested in your take, but I have a take of my own. So like,
all right, okay, so check it. For one, I hate when injuries are held against players. There's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing you can do. It's a slimy deal. It's awful. But there's X amount of dollars on a salary cap. There's X amount of dollars you need to spend for a salary cap floor. There's X amount of dollars you can only spend. And I really don't think that the Bills gave out personally ridiculous contracts to anybody. You got to pay these guys to stay here. If you let your number 3 pick, a Marcel Darius, walk, how many people watching this right now or that you know, friends and family, are going to be mother effing, look at this guy. How do you let him go? You invested all that, yada, yada, yada. So, Sammy Watkins situation. Unfortunately, you cannot afford $13 million on one player who might not play. And I mean that with all due respect because he doesn't know if he's broke. He could have.
Right.
If his bone in his foot doesn't heal 100%, I mean, it sounds like the bones aren't like fusing together correctly. Could be the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure like what the last doctor's appointment said.
I'm definitely a foot doctor.
There have been hang-ups, and they're saying that he might have been pushed back too soon. And, you know, he came in with that high level of pressure, having cost 2 first-round picks. He wants to live up to those expectations. But so far, there's been a lot of disappointment, and it's kind of gotten him a not-so-great reputation with a lot of Bills fans in the area. So, like, there's that too, and I don't think public perception is a huge thing that they look at when it comes to things of this nature, but still you want the fans to be satisfied with the product. And if you got damaged goods, and I don't like to like talk about these guys like they're objects. So, you know, if you got a guy who's not going to recover from this injury, you don't want to lock that in. I mean, there's talks that, you know, it's a $3 million difference between his option number and his franchise tag number. So if they want to lock it in after the fact, it's going to cost them a little bit more. But I think if you can fit that under the cap, it's worth it to pay that money to wait and see.
Think about it. You got guys doing like 1-year deals here and there. I mean, the contracts are getting shorter.
Right.
A player doesn't want to be franchise tagged, but if you're Sammy Watkins, you got to understand. Look at the reason it's
they also don't have a general manager.
The reason it's a smart move. Well, Sean McDermott already put a statement out there saying he talked to Sammy and yada yada. Of course.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's a big time contract if you're trying to get him long term, and the next guy who comes in here, he's probably gonna want to have a little input on that, and that's one thing that they're saying might make it hard finding a GM right now, is having to share that piece of the pie and doing the collaborative decision making thing. I mean, it's not a completely foreign structure, you know, among other NFL teams, but a lot of these guys also like do have like the final say. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the point I was going to bring up actually about the Sammy Watkins thing. I was thinking about it today. This move offers the next general manager so much flexibility. You have equity in a first-round pick next year. By all accounts, there are some franchise quote-unquote franchise, because I hate anointing anybody a good quarterback in the NFL until they play any position. Sorry. There's some definitely, like, you can't really go wrong with Mario Williams at the number 1 pick. It should work out. I think Khalil Mack pretty damn early is working out.
Yeah.
Can you go fast forward really fast? Yeah. Are you powerful? Yeah, sure. Can you bend around the edge like Bruce Smith? Well, since he set the standard, yeah, probably now, since you watch that, since he's a legend. If you listen to the number one pick this year. So, look at it. This makes so much sense for the next general manager because it offers you flexibility to exercise, hey, let's work on an extension midseason, or now you get to hide money. Not hide money, but you get to get creative with how you want to pay that $13 million plus. Like, what if you want to give him, you could still come out of this for next year, so you're going to franchise tag him anyways. Sammy, dude, why don't we just give you $17 million in the first year? You know these contracts are front loaded. We'll do a 3-year contract. You won't be hooked in forever. You could still get a second contract somewhere else. Or if you really want to be, quote unquote, long term, because I don't know what players want right now. I don't know if they want the long term contract, and I don't know what they want the short term. I'm not going to go with a narrative from 5 years ago and longer where people are like, oh, they just want the big contract, because that's not true. Guys are going with smaller. Guys are more subcontractors now than ever. They're looking out for themselves. So, I said it before. If I was Sammy Watkins, why the hell would I even sign back with the Bills if you don't got the quarterback position figured out? So guess what? You want the best Sammy Watkins, you're going to get the best Sammy Watkins this year. You don't think that Zay Jones is going to be breathing on his heels? Oh, I'm going to let this kid come in and show me up? No, that ain't happening. Sammy Watkins is going to ball out if healthy. It just sucks with Sammy. You got to put if healthy because I don't ever have a problem with Sammy Watkins. Ever. I've never been like, man, that kid's not trying. No. Imagine if this coaching staff is smart enough to maybe see what the hell he did in college. To understand, like, this dude is taking a lot of screens to the house. Well, in his own blocking scheme, I think it's going to be kind of tight to see how that works out. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys use Sammy Watkins, use Zay Jones, use Charles Clay, use LaShawn McCoy. But guess what? Most importantly, with Sammy, you're not tied down to him. What if your quarterback position somehow gets figured out and you don't need to spend both of those first-round picks next year? Maybe the general manager might want to do. Hey, here's our roster now. Here's a coach we got in place. Next year we have 2 first-round draft picks. We have Sammy Watkins if we want him. You can't go wrong with this. We have a Pro Bowl running back who, by the way, doesn't take big hits, who, by the way, talks to Thurman Thomas all the time, who extended his career by not taking big hits, getting down. Watch LaShawn McCoy run. He's not LeGarrette Blount. He's not Marshawn Lynch. I think he could play for at least another 2-3 seasons. Some people think next year. I don't agree because I don't think he's gotten bad. He's had some hamstring, whatever the hell's, but a lot of players do. I don't look at LaShawn McCoy as a guy that's from being out of shape. I don't look at it like that. So you can always package even $18 million next year if you really want to re-sign him and extend him.
Right, and like our good friend Greg Morse says here, if he's healthy through camp, you can try to get the long-term deal done. You know, Sammy healthy, he's top of his position, and Greg's right. You know? Dude is a beast when he's healthy, man.
Look, Sammy Watkins' production. What's the famous? I don't want to put you on the spot, but you always had a cool little stat with him and Tyrod.
Oh yeah, of course, because I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. No, but
it was a 90-something from an 80-something with
yeah,
Sammy
Watkins. No. It's a 14-point jump in Tyrod's passer rating when he's got Sammy on the field. The games he has Sammy on the field versus the games he doesn't. So he goes from an 83 to a 97 point something.
I will say, when you see Sammy Watkins on the
field,
field,
that's a good passer rating.
People like to talk about, oh, we want to have that game changer out there where you roll the coverage and yada yada. I'll tell you what, when Sammy Watkins is on the field and you're in the stadium and you're watching, oh, you look so good. I love that shirt, by the way. Basic, simple. What I was trying to say here is,
did you just call me basic?
Yo, dude, you got a good style. Wow, giving me the bird. Some kids watching.
The Stone Cold Steve Austin double bird. I'm sorry, this train is off the tracks, and it's all I should have just left my shirt on. See how it is? I start taking clothes off. He gets all excited.
You think you just went halfway, and that's why I'm speechless?
Pervert Dave's thinking he's going to see some side boob over here or something.
I am not a pervert. Anyways, what were we even talking about?
Something about Sammy Watkins.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sammy Watkins definitely takes coverage with him. And you got to keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to talk off my rocker. I don't know the exact number. Somebody in the audience would know. Sammy Watkins, Charles Clay, LaShawn McCoy, and Robert Woods. How long were they on the field together? And I think you could even take Robert Woods out of that equation. I think it was like 5 times. So what I'm trying to say here is Aaron Rodgers was getting a pass when Jordy Nelson was hurt for the season, right? He was getting heat, but he was also getting a little bit of a pass.
Right.
Tyrod Taylor's the guy because he's a quarterback. Like when you watch other teams play football, but you don't think like, man, that team was a disaster like the Bills. You don't read into everything so deep. You just go, man, that sucks. The guy dropped the ball. Huh.
Well, again, but Aaron Rodgers is going to get the pass because he is the more, prototypical pocket passer style quarterback.
Right.
And that's the thing that I don't think people like really still don't take into account with Tyrod Taylor is like, I got to look at him. I got to give a bigger scope when I look at him playing that position and look at him not through like the tunnel vision of like thrower of the football, but actual like maker of the plays, scorer of the points, leader of the offense. You know what I mean? Because he does a lot of really unique things, and yeah, I'm talking about running off and picking up yards with his legs, but he does it better than anyone else playing the position in the league right now.
I like seeing that his eyes are downfield, and if there's one thing that I was a little bit weary about with Sammy Watkins, and I had the same issue with Doug Marone's coaching staff with CJ Spiller, is when you watch highlights of Sammy Watkins in college, they just put the ball in his hands. They let him do whatever he wanted, and I don't understand why. And there's even people.
Who's his quarterback in college? Taj Boyd.
Yeah, and
that ball was coming out quick.
Yeah, and where's Taj Boyd?
Nowhere to be seen.
Okay, so what I'm saying here is, if you have Sammy Watkins and you saw how he was used in college, right? Which was, I was watching Mike Evans highlights and a little bit of Ebron because I had a feeling the Bills were going to go Ebron that draft. And I don't like the narrative that the Bills could have got Mike Evans because he still went to Tampa Bay. Stop. The Bills were not getting Mike Evans. It wasn't happening. Look, the way I see it is the way Sammy Watkins was used in college is night and day compared to how he was used in the NFL. He was doing a lot of screen passes, a lot of people where he could look. He has some sick vision. I want to see the Bills use a kid like that. Why not? I don't understand. And even those players within the team that I've heard kind of go through a couple channels go, yeah, I don't know why we don't run more screens. I don't know. I really don't understand it. You have a guy that can do it. He can do anything.
Oh, absolutely.
So now you got a guy in Zay Jones who's a solid receiver who's going to come in and do work. I think this is where you talk about competition making everything better. Sammy Watkins is going to ball out this year. We're going to be talking about an extension midseason. Oh, he's going to have to hold out until the end of the year, yada, yada, yada. But, of course, as I'm saying this, this is the guy who's worried about starting a podcast. You're the Bills hire Rex Ryan because the Bills are going to do all this winning. So I don't know if you want to take my opinion right now, but I hope he balls out. I hope it all works out. I wish him the best, and I hope the quarterback position gets solidified. So you have a solid situation, I think, for a general manager to come in. You have a lot of options. You have a solid draft, a very common sense Buffalo Bills draft. I don't know if I like giving away those couple fits to move up. I really don't know. Was in a message with Eric Turner from Cover One, and he kind of alerted me to that a little bit. But they must really like Dawkins. So I'm really stoked for the way the draft went. I think I need general manager prospects. They're talking to a guy from the Carolina Panthers, the Bean dude, forgot his name, Brandon Bean, I believe.
Bean.
Work with McDermott.
Flick of the bean.
Do you have any thoughts at all on, are the Bills going to get like a football czar? Like, that's kind of what I'm wondering. Are they going to get a quote-unquote czar? I don't know if I want any Polian touching the team, to be honest with you, because I just don't want that. And I hope for sakes that, I hope that, and I could be wrong again, who am I? I'm just a guy with my dog tattooed on my hand. Like, sitting here in front of a MacBook with a microphone.
You're just some dumb construction worker.
Right, so I'm just some dumbass. But I really hope that, like, Terry Pagula and Kim Pagula are looking at foresight. I don't necessarily think it's always a quarterback-driven league. I think it's more of a common sense, can your guys do what they're asked to do league, because accountability is really the hardest thing to get accomplished in professional sports in 2017, it seems like. So, do you have a scheme that's simple enough where people won't mess up? I could be wrong. And do we have a real, quote-unquote, hard-working culture? I think that's very important for these kids. They got to be structured. And I'm saying kids because 25 is not the same 25 it was 20 years ago. It's not at all. So, I don't know how you solve all these problems in the league with GM to coach to players. And that's the problem with the Bills. They got to get their shit together. And I hope it comes to fruition. So, this general manager candidate, I don't want to hear in 2 years from media members to whoever that, well, that GM never hired McDermott. So, that's why we're not going to roll with him. No, that's a cop-out. That's not strong enough.
That's why I do want the Bean guy. We got asked way up at the top of the comments. I don't even think I can get back up. Yeah, I can't even get back up that far. But we got asked at the top of the comments, is there anyone you like for the Bills GM opening? And, I haven't read my issue of NFL Executives Weekly yet, but no, there's not. Want to know why? Because I don't have any information about these executive guys. Like, I don't know these names beyond Brandon Bean, because he's the one who's on the tip of everyone's tongue right now. And I want him solely for the fact that you don't have that, well, he didn't bring McDermott in. Like, if we get that guy, McDermott held the door for him. They came in together, as far as I'm concerned. Because they're not going to hire him if McDermott says he's no good. Like, obviously that's like, hey, good guy.
They're also talking about Dan Gregory, Panthers director of player personnel.
Okay, first time I've ever heard of him.
Right. So,
right. You know what I mean? Because I don't care what these other teams are doing in their front office. I care what they're doing on the field. I realize the two things have a correlation, but I have enough trouble remembering who's on our roster. I'm not looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars front office. Let's get real here. This is Numb Bills fan.
Dude, and I'll be honest with you, this stuff is really like some of my favorite stuff is really like the GM hires, because it doesn't happen in Buffalo all the time. If you're shy on this topic, I'm not. But I'm not as informed as I'd like to be right now. I know they're talking to a guy. Allegedly, there's a short list of some guys. There's a guy in Arizona. I forgot his name. I should look it up. But
I almost feel like the Brandon Bean thing's a lock, and they just got to look at other people so they can say that they looked at other people.
I just think that people think that they're so smart they're going to connect dots. Well, Sean McDermott was in Carolina, so who are the Carolina guys? And it's like you got Jason La Canfora tweeting that.
Well, there was rumblings of that ever since he got hired, though, that he might be looking to bring in front office guys from Carolina. So I'm not shocked at this at all.
Well, Brett Veach has been touted by LaShawn McCoy to come to Buffalo. So LaShawn McCoy, I believe, has been trying to make a play for him.
Okay, if you're Terry Pagula, whose advice are you taking?
Well,
there?
he was with Andy.
No offense to LaShawn McCoy. I'd probably listen to LaShawn McCoy, just because I seem like I could relate to him. I don't want a bunch of dudes stinking up my party either.
From information I'm stealing from BuffaloRumblings.com, so you should check out their site. Give them a shout out for real to show you what I'm skimming right now to pretend I'm smart. I'm not going to. Gonna call it to you real here. We'll keep you entertained while we look it up. Buffalo Bills general manager candidates. And that was written April 30th by Chris Trapasso, who does a great job. Great to see him running Buffalo Rumblings. Congrats to that guy, by the way. We should get him on the podcast. I don't know why we haven't.
Yeah, do it.
Shoot
that out there.
He says a Philadelphia connection. All right, so the Veach guy here, Brett Veach, he was an area scout for the Eagles and reunited with Andy Reid when he was hired in Kansas City in 2013. He started his career as a coaching assistant to Reid in 2007. Well, guess what? Reid had McDermott under his wing, too. So I think this is a common connection. And not for nothing, I've always loved Andy Reid. I was shocked when Eagles fans were booing that they got McNabb. Guys are a bunch of ass wipes. Loved me, McNabb. What's wrong with you? Boo, get the hell out of here. Yeah, did he maybe wimp out a little bit and the anxiety caught up to him and Terrell Owens with half a leg is playing harder than everybody in that Super Bowl? Yeah, okay. So dude puked on himself. Big fucking deal. All right. So, anyways, look, here's the deal. You can go a couple different ways with this. You could go with the super experienced guys who are quote-unquote retreads and wash-ups. But if there's one thing with GMs is they don't always get a second shot. They don't always get a second shot. It's not like the recycled coach network all the time. At the same time, I hope that the Pagulas are thinking for the future. I really think that the way the league is going personally is that, these running backs, come on. If you're throwing the ball a lot, you got to get guys who can cover. Okay, well, if you're getting guys who can cover, that means a running back should be able to, run through them, right? If they're a little bit leaner, a little bit quicker, a little bit smaller, you would think. And if everybody wants a big hit, they want the big hit, you know what I'm saying? It's all right, well, I guess good luck taking out Marshawn Lynch. Really, good job taking out LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
Good, so, again, refer back to Brian Scott and the Bills trotting him out there because they were, ahead of their time back then, putting him out there to play that tweener role as a safety who could play linebacker. And what do you know? 5-6 years later, it's the standard. So, hey, but what happened? Tom Brady just handed the ball off and ran all over the Bills when they came with that big plan. So, what I'm getting here is I lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was talking about.
You lost me at Brian Scott. Small safeties playing linebacker. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I can't keep up with you anymore.
I can't keep up with myself. So as far as the Bills are concerned with Sammy Watkins, if you want to touch on that again, because it seems to be the hot topic in the comments. Sammy Watkins is a very polarizing object because we have such an investment in it. But one thing I think that fans and everybody need to take into consideration here is the Pagulas just removed the guy who drafted everybody, who's brought in all these players. This new general manager does not give a shit if Ronald Darby was a good player 3 years ago. He's not going to care if Sammy Watkins was given away for 2 first-round picks. The smart play, the smartest play, is that classic football deal, which is move on to the next play. That's the smart play. And you have to look at your talent on hand. And a lot of these NFL players and these players, they're paid on potential. They're drafted on potential. And it's really hard to sit back and watch some of the guys that you draft not come to fruition like we think. And then it's not the player's fault that they're necessarily injured. It's not the player's fault that people have such high expectations from them, and there's nothing they can do about it. These guys weren't asked to be taken in the first round. And believe me, money doesn't solve everything. Don't think because they finally got their dreams that everything is great. It's not. So for Sammy Watkins, I frankly feel bad. Because if this foot doesn't heal right after the second surgery, what does that mean for him as a person? And when you're a young player, you have these high expectations. You've been tearing up every level. You're used to winning. You're going to winning programs. And now this is the first time you actually have to face some adversity. That's a lot of these players that have been on the Bills. Kyle Williams has not been to the playoffs. Eric Wood has not been to the playoffs. But guess what? It doesn't matter. They don't care. The Bills drafting the Dawkins kid, I mean, should that be maybe, hey, Richie Incognito, you're due some money in a couple of years. Watch out. Or is that, hey, that's competition for the right tackle spot? I don't know. Or maybe this coaching staff does not care to see what our right guard can bring to the table in John Miller. I think he's solid. But I'm not a scout. I don't know. I've never evaluated him. I'm not Eric Turner at Cover One. We should ask Eric. Hey, Eric, how well can Miller do blocking for the zone type crap that they want to do? Can he do all that
zone type crap?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I really hope that that's not what they're saying, like in the meeting rooms down at the state. All right, so we're gonna do this zone blocking crap. Like, you guys got this. I hope they got a little bit tighter grasp than you do. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so you know those.
Not that I'm any better.
You know those plays in Madden where they go power O. Yeah, we're not doing that. So look, we're doing this one that says inside zone.
Oh, speaking of Cover One, Kevin's in here. Look, Dawkins is a 10-year right tackle. Oh, that's our boy, though.
Kevin, are you trolling? This will hit back to him in like 30 seconds. Yeah. Kevin, I can't ever pronounce Masseri, there it is. I like Kevin. Kevin's a good person.
Yeah, check out our podcast we did with him. Get on your feed, check those out. I mean, it was draft preview, but man, he knows his stuff.
Let me be real with you. I found out some information on the Cover One podcast, and I do not feel bad. Eric's last podcast was, I'm going to title it, let's see here. Sorry, people. It was with Jason Shannon, and he runs some kind of scouting school or whatever that I think Eric is a part of, and he has experience in front offices, I believe, at least with the Jets, maybe the Eagles too. I forgot. I don't mean to misquote him, but I learned a lot that made me feel not bad about not following the draft as tight as everybody else does. What I mean by that is, I think the draft is so damn boring. Like, up until the draft, like a couple weeks before the draft, I'm like, I am not diving into this information because I'm going to hear the same crap about 50 players. Then the combine's going to hit. Then they're going to get resorted. And then what happens is what Jason did here is, on this podcast, he confirmed with me exactly what I kind of been thinking in my head, which is the general manager is not sitting there breaking down tape of every player and this and that. They're just not. They're taking in their information from the scouts. Okay, cool. I got some infrastructure talk here. So I think about it, and I'm like, all right. So how do these guys rise and fall off draft boards? And Jason brought up a great point. He goes, look, what ends up happening is these later round graded guys, they get reviewed when they get more time, and especially after day one, so they start moving up and down boards. When people say more information comes out, I always thought, okay, these guys just don't know what the hell they're talking about in the media, like Mount Hyper. They really don't, and they're just making up names now. The guys moving around. Well, when you realize that a lot of these guys don't have the time to scout 1,000 players, like every single one, I don't feel so bad because I am more into, okay, here's who they picked up in the draft, who was available, who slipped, who fell, who moved around, and why. Why did they fall? I'm more interested in the stories after. So, like, for this summer and spring, please, again, keep tuning into us every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Tune into us on our podcast and whatever you want to do. Scott Campbell our buddy there writes for us, he has some stuff coming up, an article coming up for our website about a draft review. He had a draft preview that he sent in as we're driving up to 34 Rush to do the draft show with the Huddle and Rochester Sports Network. So I really couldn't post it.
Yeah, we didn't get it out. I didn't even see it till like
sorry,
the next
Scott.
day.
I didn't even open up the email,
awful.
dude.
Yeah. We were rushing around, scrambling to get there. We were super late as it was.
Yeah. So
true to form, it wouldn't be us if we were on time. At least me. I don't know. You've been on time once or twice.
So Kevin is dead serious.
Yeah, he wasn't trolling you.
Okay. Well, Kevin, thank you. And thank you to Cover One again. And really, check out that podcast because Jason breaks it down. And I think that a lot of these picks are interesting, like who they got them, why they got them. It just seems like guys that they could draft.
Did you just say who they got them?
Yes, I did.
Loving it.
I just talk. I don't think. So what I like about this draft, though, is you got guys where it seems like you could turn your back on them, and they're going to come into practice the next day, and the work's going to be set. You don't have to worry if they did the work. So I kind of like that. I think that's what you got with Zay Jones. If you hear him talk, he sounds just like Aaron Williams. Talks just like Aaron Williams. Not as jolly. He actually apologized for wearing the greatest shirt ever.
Oh, that reminds me.
Did you ever see that Borrowed Time? I did it with Borrowed Time and the On the Ropes thing. I actually took that chase picture and never made it into
that's funny that you mentioned that because I had this like weird idea in the middle of the night last night that I was going to bring the green screen over today and set it up behind us and just have that chase playing in the background on a loop for the entire show. But I was very busy this morning.
You know how bummed I was that the dude from Naked Gun was getting arrested?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he play for the... Oh. He put... Oh. Yeah, we got to get that OJ interview going. Anyways, so I think our show just fell off a cliff. So I'm just about...
Yeah, I mean...
I think I'm just about done here.
We're to the bottom of our notes anyways.
Yeah, Chris Williams, I'm with you, dude. I just hope we can get to the damn playoffs finally. I think so, too. And honestly, with this new GM coming in and with Sean McDermott, it seems like they're getting right to the bottom of every... There's not going to be any air in this pizza dough. Like, none. It's going to be out. And it seems like that's what they're doing. So
I mean, that's always the plan, though.
I want to know how the hell you scout players. Like, where's he getting this information from? Like, the pro personnel side. Because a lot of guys are getting cut, but the Bills are still bringing in guys.
Right. Well,
Sean McDermott's list must be that long.
They say he's ultra meticulous when it comes to his work. So,
all right. So, real quick, don't forget, if you want to support the podcast, go here. Go on numbillsfan.com. Click that picture right there. It'll take you to our Etsy site. Shirts are really nice. They're comfortable. Bleach print like this shirt. So, like, the design lays flat. It's breathable when it gets hot. Unlike this. See how that's, like, rubbery? Yeah, no. No, we got shorts that, like, you want to wear around the house. You want to buy a nice grease rag? Use it. Want to wipe your dog's ass with it? Use it. Like, I don't give a shit. Just, it helps support the podcast, and hopefully it's comfortable, and it's not so blatant and cheesy looking for you, hopefully.
Yeah, the podcast.
Plain and simple is the way we do it. And don't forget to subscribe to us every Wednesday. This show is brought to you by Bills4Life.com. Cannot thank Chris Williams, Jamie Tilbury, Dave, and... Wow, what are you doing, dog? And also, shout out to Red Pencil Tailgate guys. Thank you for always supporting us. And for everybody who supports us and hits us up, thank you so much. We love interacting with you. If you want, find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Numb Bills Fan, everywhere you can think. We kind of had a Numb Bills Fan Snapchat going, but it's just pretty much my personal one, and I just send pictures at work. So just find me, David J. Palermo, on the Snapchat and Instagram if you want to see our regular life. And that's Numb Bills Adam D on Twitter. I'm Numb Bills Fan on Twitter. But Deacon will occasionally post some like promotional crap from the Numb Bills Fan main account. So please don't be shy. Any comments, anybody who might want to call into us, we have a hotline coming eventually. So if anybody wants to do a caller show, we might do another one of those too. So please keep tuning in, check in with us, numbbillsfan.com, and keep refreshing your feeds. You never know. We will always have interesting conversation that can relate to Bills fans in some way. So we got a lot of players to review. They're all going to have good stories. So check it out. And don't forget, Shady Rays 25% off if you type in Numb Bills fan. I don't even know if they keep track of that. Our main man, Tim Avery, though. Shout out to Tim Avery. Tim Avery is a man. He came out to the 34 rush and sat with us to watch the first round because we weren't on the show for the huddle that night. But we hung out. We helped behind the scenes. Actually, Deacon did help Gary out. But Tim Avery, thank you for coming out, bud. He knew more about the draft than we did. It was crazy. Like, Tim knows draft. So if you know Tim Avery out there, find him, hit him up, bother him about football. He loves it.
We'll have him on the podcast again.
Yeah, we got to get him on. We got to get him on. So, again, thank you. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Tell all your friends. And subscribe anywhere that you find your podcast. And if you like it, all we ask is tell your friends. If you want to throw in a 5-star rating, go for it. If you want to throw in a 1, please don't.
Yeah. If you hate us, just skip it. Just skip the rate.
Just send me an email, Dave@NumbBillsFan. You want to get to Adam too? You want to CC us on both of them? He's Adam@NumbBillsFan.com. You really want to piss us off? NumbBillsFan@gmail.com is the OG email address, but I'll never check it, so joke's on you.
Don't email me.
All right, this show's over. Where do I press stop streaming?
It's usually the button that says stop streaming.